So this is what's crazy about this. This guy wrote about this in like the 1970s. He wrote this, what is it called? The 12th Planet, I think. That was the first of them. I think he wrote multiple books on this, on the Sumerian text. But I think it was like the 1970s or somewhere around then, they were having this sort of symposium on what to do in the sense of like ozone depletion and climate change. Like, is there a way to suspend reflective particles in the atmosphere to block out some of the harmful rays of the sun? So that was their idea. So what this book is trying to say is the reason why humans are obsessed with gold is because like the aliens designed us to mine and get the gold, and then they would use that gold to protect their atmosphere.
So they impregnated us with this idea that gold has value.
Yeah.
Because they need it to enhance their ability to keep living.
It's a fun idea.
It's
a
very
fun
fun.
idea.
All that shit's fun.
If you're doing bong hits and you're like watching
high on
documentaries,
hallucinogenic honey, and you hear Joe Rogan saying it in your head.
it's cool when you see Zecharia Sitchin too, because he's this like very scholarly looking gentleman with an awesome name, and he's like pointing out all these different things like the caduceus, the sign of medicine, like the universal sign of medicine.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the double helix of DNA.
Whoa.
That's what that is. That's why it snakes around like that. And he says, and it represents medicine in ancient Sumer. And it also, like, it's present in these very weird stone tablets. Some of these stone tablets have images of this like enormous being with this human-like creature on its lap, but the thing has a tail.
Whoa. It's
really weird. Yeah. It's really weird stuff. And then they also had a depiction of the entire solar system, all the planets in the solar system, and roughly the same size and roughly the same place. So they had an idea of what planets were out there in 6,000 BC, or whatever it was, 5,000 BC. That's fucking insane.
It doesn't make any sense based on everything we know now.
It's fucking insane, and it's wild to look at. Like, you see this clay tablet, and it has what is like clearly the sun in the center. Like, look at this thing. How wild is that?
Are the Anunnaki the albino ones? Are those the albino aliens?
I don't know that. I don't know anything about that.
I'm only like familiar with the Chariots of the Gods type shit.
Yeah, Chariots of the God is interesting too. I met that guy.
Really?
Yeah, Eric von Daniken. Yeah, I went to a lunch. This very wealthy guy that I know is interested in this kind of stuff, and I think one of his friends was as well. And so they decided to have this guy come over, and they said, you know, like, do you know anybody who knows a lot about this stuff? And then my friend called me up and said, do you want to come and talk to Eric von Daniken?
Yes.
I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So I
Let's
sat
go.
next to this guy. I was asking him all these questions. I think he's a true believer. He's a true believer. He's a true believer that all these things are created by aliens, whether it's the pyramids or all these other structures that are impossible to do today. I'm a believer that all those structures are most likely the evidence of a super advanced civilization that existed that got wiped out by meteors.
And also that they like conducted energy, right?
They did something different than we're doing. No one really knows.
And they're all built along the same lines, right? Like the Nazca lines?
Some of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Nazca lines is different. That's in Peru. That's really interesting stuff because it is enormous things that are laid out on the sand or on the ground that you can't see unless you're in the sky. It's real weird, and some of them look like landing strips. It's like, what were they doing?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no one knows.
No.
I think most of that stuff that they keep finding, like the structures of Göbekli Tepe and all these other structures they find around the world, they don't really know where they came from. I think a lot of that is probably evidence of some shit that existed a long time ago, and they got wiped out. And
It served a
lot of
purpose
evidence
globally, too, though.
Yeah.
There had to be some kind of, like, mass communication to arrange those structures, right?
Well, at least in the people that were in that area. What's interesting to me is the most spectacular ones all came from Africa, and we know human beings all came from Africa. Mm-hmm. And the most spectacular ever in the history of humanity still exist in Egypt, and they're like, you know, at the very most recent they could be is like 4,500 years old, which is bananas.
Dude.
It's bananas. It's like, what's going on down then?
Also, all those cities, like the one in Peru that's built
at
like
Machu Picchu,
12,000 feet or whatever.
Dude.
How do you get the fucking stones up there, dude?
How the fuck did that happen?
I'm going down there with my dad in May.
The wackiest theory I heard was that used to be at the base of water, and that everything out in front of that at one point in time, many thousands of years ago, was all water.
Yeah. It was
don't
on
know
the
if that's
beach,
ever
effectively.
been substantiated, or that might be just a wacky theory. But if it's not, how did they do that,
Dude.
And how do they made them so they're all like kind of jigsaw pieces and they all slide right into each other,
Yeah.
and they're fucking enormous,
And they're perfectly fit together.
Yeah.
It's not just like random, like fill in with mortar. No.
These guys are artists and engineers and wizards. Like, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah, it's crazy to be a mason and also be able to design some kind of structure that can communicate and or create energy to empower people who live almost 2 miles high. That shit's beyond any kind of fathoming that I can do.
Well, what's really weird is that a lot of them have these structures that are designed in mirror of the cosmos too. So they're very aware of, they were very aware of all the stars in the sky and all the constellations, and they put that, a lot of it, in their design. They did it in Mexico. The Aztecs did it. The Mayans did it. Just imagine if there's one time I could go back and see what the fuck was life like.
Yeah.
I think it would be ancient Egypt.
Okay.
I'd be like, what were you guys doing? How the fuck did you do this? Like, what was life like? What kind of people were around back then? We have like some bodies, but the body's a lot. Do you know that Cleopatra, she lived closer to the invention of the iPhone than she did to the construction of the pyramids?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Cleopatra was not that long ago.
Whoa. When was she around?
I think a couple thousand years ago.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What
See
about
that? What time was Cleopatra around?
Died somewhere in the range of 50 to 30 BC.
Yeah, so a little less than 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the pyramids were 2,500 years at least before that,
Fuck, dude.
and maybe more.
What about the Maoris?
Oh
Those
my
dudes
God.
who navigated all the way to Hawaii
Yeah.
in fucking kayaks by
Yeah.
by the stars?
Fucking kayaks.
I'd go back there. I'd see what those boys were up to.
Hardcore shit.
You just
dude.
launch off of your island, and you're like, fingers crossed, we're gonna find some other shit out there.
Fingers crossed you didn't get caught in
Or
a
they
hurricane.
knew, or someone told them there was shit out there. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I bet they went on fishing voyages, and I bet they just kept going further and further out. And
Really?
if you do it over time and you figure out how to get back, they probably just, I don't think they did it all in one crazy trip.
No, but I think that
They
they had
probably would-
expeditions that they would probably report back from lesser islands, come back, be like,
Yeah.
now we have set up over here.
Right, because you probably didn't even know where the islands were.
No.
How
Your
the fuck
fingers
could you
crossed
know?
you're gonna find land.
Imagine finding Hawaii.
Yeah.
Imagine you're out there in the middle of the ocean, like, dude, I think we're fucked. We're gonna die out here.
Yeah.
Like I think we're only in the middle, so we don't have any more water.
All we have is coconut milk.
And then all of a sudden you look and you see waterfalls and shit. You're like, oh! No wonder why they're so happy.
They're stoked. Yeah.
It's like always been a vacation spot.
Yeah.